Welcome back to the Never Good Enough podcast. I'm Eline.
And I am Sarah, and we're so excited to see you back here.
Today we have a really interesting topic. Of course, all the things we talk about we find interesting, but we're going to talk about resistance. When we're talking about change, resistance is something I think we don't touch upon enough, which is something we experience, all of us experience, when we're going through any sort of change, whether it's lifestyle or thought patterns or whatever you want to change in your life, you'll bump into resistance a lot. And this conversation, we're going to talk about what it is, why it even comes up, and how to overcome it. Like, procrastination is part of this as well. How can we choose differently? How can we be productive? And really, how can we understand when we should be kicking our own butts a bit more, or when actually we should stop kicking our butt and take a rest? And I'm really excited to dive into this. And I think, Sarah, you have a really good example of resistance.
Exactly. Just yesterday night, I was having a session with a super lovely lady, and she was experiencing a lot of resistance in doing the things that she knew were the best for her. And she really asked me the question, like, can I one day stop feeling this resistance? How can I fight it? How can I stop my negative thoughts? And when I was just listening to her, I heard all of this, like, trying to fight, trying to stop all of this willpower of just blocking something that was happening and that she felt like she had no power against. And so we tried to reframe what was going on with her. And first of all, acknowledge that, as you were saying, resistance is something that is part of our brain and it's also essential for our survival. It makes us feel connected and safe to what we know is familiar. So when the brain knows something and knows that it's familiar, it will keep going back to it. When we present something that is entirely new, like a completely new thought, as the one, I am good enough, might sound to somebody that has internally, subconsciously told themselves that they're never good enough, then this resistance kicks in. And we can feel it tangibly. Anybody can try it right now. Try just staring at yourself in a mirror and using that positive thought, that positive sentence that for you is so foreign and maybe even so silly. I could stand in front of the mirror, for example, and say, I am the most beautiful woman on earth. And my brain is immediately thinking, no, you're not. I know you're not. So, what's the point? And the harder I feel this resistance of my brain finding all the reasons why I'm not the most beautiful girl or I'm not beautiful, the more I know that's exactly what I need to be changing right now. Because maybe I really need to work on my self-esteem. I really need to work on how I see myself in the mirror. And if you stand there as a woman and you repeat to the mirror, I am beautiful, see if you have some resistance. See if your brain is suddenly noticing that your nose is a bit crooked, or your teeth aren't aligned, or your jawline isn't the one it should be, or you're a little bit too chubby on your cheeks. If all of this is coming up, keep sticking with it if you want to change that belief, if you want to change your life, and keep repeating, I am good enough. I am beautiful. I am sexy. I am gorgeous. I am attractive. And see what happens over time. Probably you can give it a couple days or a week, but you will see that the more you make something unfamiliar familiar, the less this resistance is, because now it's a little bit more familiar, and it's as simple as that. It doesn't need to be a positive thought or a negative thought, because for the brain, that's all the same. They're all just the same kind of stuff. They're little beliefs that it can choose. Okay, today I believe that I'm good enough, or today I believe that I'm not good enough. It's totally up to us. So she was telling me, I'm feeling this resistance. It's like a block of concrete. I feel it in my stomach. And the things that you're telling me, Sarah, to maybe do or to listen to, I know they're top priority, because we were speaking about what I just told you, these powerful beliefs that I suggested her to really make her own. And she was like, yeah, I need to hear these things. When I hear them in a state where I have less resistance, for example, I'm hypnotized, my whole body feels good. I want to feel like this. But when I'm alone in my home, I distract myself, I procrastinate, I don't do these vital things that should be my top priority. And so today we will really dive deeper into when is the time to kick your butt and actually get yourself to do these things? What are the strategies to make yourself do these things? And when is it that maybe the thing you need is doing less? What if that is unfamiliar and you need to make that familiar? For me, resting was a really difficult thing to do. And just hassling and feeling tired and burnout, that felt amazing. That felt great. Well, of course, there were a lot of side issues coming with it: insomnia, anxiety, and I wanted to deal with all these issues. How? Doing more, reading more books about it, buying maybe more supplements, doing more things. So yeah, this is my experience with resistance and the experience of my client. And I'm curious what you have to say on it, Eline.
So, if I understand it correctly, that you're saying that basically feeling this kind of resistance or just not wanting to do something, or kind of this pushback, right, that we experience when we want to try something new, or we're actually already in kind of a new experience or in a new mindset, that it's actually the natural response of your subconscious to the new thing. So it's actually very normal. Like everybody has this. And it's just about learning how to recognize it and deal with it. Because I think for me and a lot of my clients, there's often this feeling that resistance is kind of the proof somehow that indeed we can't do it, or this idea, maybe if you just want to exercise more. I think it's a great example. Usually, we're not super excited to exercise, especially if we haven't for a while. And there is this resistance. And there's this feeling of like, I just don't feel like it. I'm not in the mood. And I think we often see that feeling, or that feeling of resistance, as proof that we're just not good enough. We're not like all these other fit people who just like happily go on marathon runs. And, there's this idea or identification with this feeling of not being able to really like get there. And we kind of get stuck in that space, right? Of, okay, yeah, I know it's good for me, but I don't really want to. And I'll kind of wait until I'll feel like it, which I think is a big point where people get stuck. And this is something that I'm just curious, like, so this is normal, basically.
It is totally normal. Everybody experiences resistance. And as I was saying, it's a good thing because through your resistance, you first of all identify that you're doing a great job. If you weren't feeling that inner voice just saying, "What are you doing? Like, I'm not good enough. I'm not beautiful enough." Oh my God, I found the exact thing I need to tell myself so often. My life is going to change in an amazing way. So when you feel that resistance, congratulations. The more intense you're feeling it, the more you're working at it. And my clients sometimes tell me, I've had this crazy reaction. I was distracted. I had maybe a little bit of a migraine. I really wasn't feeling well after I heard a full hypnotic audio that I made for them that is 20 minutes of positive, empowering beliefs. So it's like a big dose of what they would need, but their body kind of rejects it at first. And when they tell me this, I know internally, oh my God, this person is going to transform big time if they stick with it, if they keep listening through the resistance. So, of course, there's a moment, as you were saying, where we need that endurance. But it all starts from, and thank you for pointing that out, realizing this is normal. We all have it. I'm experiencing it. Oh, it means I'm human. What a surprise.
Yes. So, really, the secret to success is way more about how we respond to the resistance than that it exists, right? And I think that's such a powerful thing to realize, and something I talk a lot about when I'm talking with clients about changing behavior, right? Is this idea that you don't necessarily need to be in the mood to make a change or to do the thing. And I think, especially if you know that some of the things you're thinking about and kind of pushing forward, and you're kind of procrastinating on it, but you know it's good for you, that it's okay to be with that feeling, right? I think that's also what your client was sharing, is she wants that feeling of resistance to go away. And for me, what I found really transformative is to learn to just let that feeling of resistance be there. Like it's invited. It can be part of the process, and I can feel the resistance and still choose to do something. And that's such a cool kind of tool to have, right? To know, like, okay, I can be present with this feeling of resistance, but also be curious, of course, like where it is coming from. I think that often this feeling of resistance or procrastination comes from being afraid that we're not going to be good enough, and comes from this place of perfectionism and of really high standards. And we expect ourselves, if we haven't been cooking for years and now we have this inspiration to become like a chef, or just like cook more and bake more and like kind of get that going in your life, we expect to just know everything all of the sudden just because you've now discovered that this is something you want to do or something you want to change. You have this expectation that now you're going to be this kitchen princess from now on. And because the expectation is so high, it it is impossible to live up to, and you can kind of feel that somewhere already, right? So I think there's also a big uh, wisdom in making smaller steps, and really therefore when it comes to feeling this resistance, seeing like, okay, if I make the step that much smaller, do I have maybe a little bit less resistance as well, right? Like it is something we can work with, something we can tune into, and really see like, what can I do for myself or provide in order to make it easier to make this transition. Because as you mentioned, Sarah, I think what you were saying in how to create like success in change and sustainable change, staying consistent, which is kind of where resistance is usually sabotaging the consistency. As often when we have these new insights, like your client and like a lot of mine, you have a couple of days where you feel this new energy, you feel the motivation, you feel the mindset shift. And there's just this, yes, I'm gonna go for it. But then it's kind of like your old self is kind of pushing back, like, hello, this is unsafe. What are you doing? And it's up to us to respond differently from this new place and actually welcome the resistance kind of as a friend and be like, okay, thank you for trying to protect me, right? Because that's really what it is. It's protection. And the more we can have some appreciation, perhaps, and compassion and normalize it, the easier it can be to kind of move through it.
Exactly. I love that. And I was hearing someone this morning, I can't remember exactly what I was listening to, but it was putting out the concept that the things that we get easily are not worth getting. Like we kind of dismiss them, whereas the things that take us a lot of time and a lot of effort to get to are the ones that are so meaningful for us and give us just so much purpose and satisfaction. And that's when I say resistance is not a bad thing. We see it as the enemy, and I do it. That almost every day I'm like, I should be here, and I'm here, and oh my God, like how can I speed things up? But then luckily, I also have the experience in my life of getting to a place super fast and being like, first, this is not the place I wanted to go to. This is a wrong destination for me. And second, I haven't enjoyed one moment of the route I've taken to get here. I want to go back and do it all again. And I'm referring to my career in ballet. I was dancing some very like important roles when I was 23 or 24, which is really early in the balletic world. And I had struggled a lot to get there because I didn't have the most gifted body. But it was all from a place of, I need to make it because one day I'm going to be happy. And that one day I had the role and I was not happy and not fulfilled. And that's where I realized if I ever change profession, which I did, I want to enjoy and now it's every session I do with a client. I want to enjoy every recording, every moment. And it's the most beautiful thing. So this resistance slows down the process of getting the things we want so that we can first if we decide to, enjoy that we're getting closer and closer to the things we want. And two, make sure that where we're going is actually the right place. Because if you're having every day to just jump over obstacles to get to where you want, you're going to be really clear that that's where you want to go. Otherwise, you don't have the energy to wake up every morning and keep fighting against your resistance.
Yes, thank you for sharing that good things time. And it's worth our effort to learn to recognize this resistance and this procrastination. And I also want to touch upon something that is really related to this conversation, right? You were already sharing, like, when do you know to push through, right? And be consistent and kind of be with the resistance and do it anyway and feel your fear or your just feeling scared of or uncomfortable and doing it anyway. And when should you listen to this feeling of resistance, right? Of not wanting to do something or not being interested in something or really just not knowing how to get to a place where you feel ready to do something. And I think this is where the juiciness of balance again comes in, is that we need to be able to listen to ourselves more closely and understand where our growth lies, and that is always found outside of our comfort zone, and that our comfort zone is very different. Like, we have this general idea in our society that our, like, what lies outside of our comfort zone is more productivity, doing more, being more. Like, that's the goal, that's where we all should be going. If you're not going there, then you're just not getting out of your comfort zone enough, you're being lazy, you're not being productive or efficient enough. And we have this constant striving going on. But what I see very often is that actually where a lot of growth lies for a lot of people in our society is actually letting go of these expectations of constantly being productive and learning how to rest more, or how to not be constantly stressed, right? Because maybe being stressed and running around, like you were sharing, Sarah, is your comfort zone. And it's actually really uncomfortable to do like a 90-minute yin yoga practice, which is like really slow and you're just like being with your body, with your mind. And when you have like a free morning, to not fill it up with all sorts of productive things, but actually just luxuriate in being with your cats or reading a book, just some of my examples. Um, and I think that's where we need to be able to listen to the voice or our intuition, where very often we do know what we really need. Like, especially if you're tuning into this conversation and hearing this, like, do you need more rest or do you need to kick your butt more? I think, generally speaking, we have a tendency to be on one or the other side, right? Like, some people just are more comfortable with being very productive and always being busy, and some people struggle to get themselves moving. But this can also change. Maybe you are just really tired because you've had like an emotional day yesterday. So of course you could get up super early, go for like a workout, do all sorts of things. But maybe what is really helpful and what you really need is to sleep in, to take a bath, to go for a walk, and to be gentle with yourself. And I think it's so important to talk about this because a lot of procrastination comes from a place of overwhelm and a lot of feelings around burnout and just doing years too much, like not resting for so long that we don't know how to get to that place of relaxation anymore. And because of that, we don't have the capacity to be productive, right? So instead of pushing yourself even more and kind of violating your own boundaries, it is about recognizing that you need to take a step back, that is where the real healing and restorative balance is needed, and that from that place of relaxation and taking a step back and allowing yourself to do nothing, there can be like a natural motivation born to do things, to work out, to eat more healthy, to bake things, to do whatever you want to do, to change, to focus on more positive thoughts. Like, you can't change from a place of complete overwhelm.
I love that. I'm going to highlight that and maybe use different words to explain how my brain sees it, because I was a person that really needed that dopamine of doing. Ticking things off from my list felt for an instant amazing. The instant after, I want something else to do. That was a tiny point that I ticked off. Let me now do something really significant. I got to the end of the day and I would call a dear friend or my mom and be like, so today I've done this. Aren't I amazing? And then I would finish off the phone call with this sense of I'm missing something. Like, should I do more? There is a never ending road to doing more. You can always find something more to do. So when we feel we're procrastinating, and especially if you're a type that recognizes themselves in what I have just described of doing more, the issue is not being lazy. The issue is not missing willpower to do the things that you should be doing and you're procrastinating. In fact, the issue could be described as the opposite. You're putting too much on your plate. You're all the time exhausted. So your body is trying to get you to feel a little bit of pleasure or ease or release in your day by pushing off at least the tasks that you hate doing. So if you really look at it for what it is, procrastination is your body trying to make life easier for you. Now we can argue that it's making it more difficult, and I would agree, because oftentimes it's better if we just get that thing done, get that tax declaration done, or the things we procrastinate on. However, in order to get to that level of clarity in instructing your body, no, I want to do this because I love getting this done. Because the feeling of not getting it done is horrible. I don't want to walk around that feeling of not having my tax declaration done for another minute. Dear body, we're doing this. And I want it and I love it and I'll do it. And saying these words, our brain understands. It's the same as the affirmations in the mirror. The things that you procrastinate on, a useful tool, if you're there, is to say, I want it, I'll do it. I love doing it. I love getting it done. And the opposite of that, so when you are indulging in that procrastination, is your body trying to make you feel good. So to really approach it in a smart way, I believe, is to ask our body or to reflect on, why am I chasing pleasure? Am I not feeling pleasure during my day? And if you are like the previous version of me, running around like a crazy person, no, I wasn't feeling pleasure. And the second of dopamine release from ticking the item off wasn't real pleasure. My body wanted connection. It wanted purpose. It wanted meaning. It wanted friendships. It wanted laughs. It wanted joy and rest and ease and all these things that make us feel human and alive. So with a client that was really struggling with procrastination, and she was a super successful person, I told her, okay, you're going to allocate an hour of your day where you're not doing anything productive. You can do things that you love to do. You can go for a walk. If your goal is not, to go for a walk with your little Fitbit telling you how many calories you burned, you need to do something that is unmonitored and you're just doing it for yourself. And at first it was impossible for her. She was like, a full hour? I can't. I do 5 minutes and then I'm like, this is crap. I'm going to do something else. And I was like, stick to it. She had a lot of trust with me. So she was like, okay, I'm going to do 20 minutes. And after just a week of doing those 20 minutes that were for her super hard, she was like, you know what? After those 20 minutes, I feel like I actually want to do things. And I'm like, yeah, let's do the things that I really need to do. So it just created a little bit more space for her to regain control on her life, on her thoughts, instead of being just dragged around by our crazy monkey brain that says, oh, let me do this, and oh, I have to do that, and oh, I need to get more dopamine, I need to do all these things, and then I'm procrastinating, so I need to do even more.
Yes, beautiful. I think it's so good to recognize also that the productivity and overachieving and just constantly being focused on more and more and more is so celebrated in our society that it can be really hard or uncomfortable to choose rest more, because we've just not learned that that is okay, even though resting can actually be very productive to make a nice bridge there. But I think it is so helpful to see that there are different ways to approach this, and that it's really about tuning into ourselves more and seeing what we really need, perhaps getting some guidance there, but to really understand that pushing through isn't always the solution, and that we can go gently and with more clarity and understanding. We can still choose to do something, right? It can be really helpful to know you don't have to be in the mood for something to do something that will be helpful, because that's another interesting part of this conversation. I feel like we are so wired for pleasure, and we want to avoid pain and uncomfort at any cost, right? So there's definitely some mechanisms behind not getting off the couch to do yoga, even though it's going to make you feel a lot better. And I'm wondering if you have anything to share about that, or how our nervous system also plays a part in this overwhelm that we feel, and therefore not being able to really like get to this mental place of going for something.
Yeah, it's one of the rules of the subconscious mind that it only lives in the present moment. So it won't understand after yoga, I'll feel good. It just understands couch, chips, good. Yoga, mat, not good, pain. And so it will keep you there, glued to the couch. And you'll be like, why? I'm going to feel so good after. Why do I feel this massive, and again, resistance? It's actually your subconscious mind trying to protect you from some pain. So again, you can talk to it. You can be like, no, wait, Sarah, I'm on the couch. Okay. I know that after yoga, I'm going to feel great, probably even during yoga. So let me get through this uncomfort. And as you said in another episode, divide it into steps. I loved how you said that. And it was a similar example. Just rise off the couch. You're already closer to your yoga mat. It's easier. And take it from there. So definitely the brain, the subconscious brain has a huge part on how we perceive the world. When we understand the rules that govern it, we're able to reason with them and to guide ourselves. For example, we tend to go towards what we perceive as immediate pleasure, and we tend to move away from what we perceive as immediate pain. However, there's a component of us, which is a rational mind, that can also resonate in terms of future pleasure and future pain. And then we can talk ourselves into what we actually want to do for long lasting well being.
Yes, I think it is also so nice, at least for me, on this journey of letting go of perfectionism and procrastination, which are so intertwined, right? Is also to learn that if you overcome the resistance once, it becomes kind of like training a muscle, right? Like I've really noticed that right now in my life, whenever I feel some resistance to something, I just recognize it, kind of easily move through it. Like it's not a big deal anymore. Like it's not as big of a thing to overcome. It's as if this like hurdle has become so much smaller that I can just pretty easily kind of step over it. And I think that's such a nice thing to know, that if you practice this more and more, whatever it is you're trying to change, the resistance also gets less, right? I think you touched upon this in the beginning, that basically your brain is just adjusting to the new situation and it's like, okay, yes, it does actually feel good to do this. And I always recommend to really say it, to be present with it, to be mindful about the fact that what you're choosing is indeed pleasant. Like, oh, hey, yoga does this a lot. It's like, hey, do you notice the difference between when you started the practice and when you're now sitting after the practice? Because I feel like it really teaches us, like, oh yes, this is actually pleasurable. I want to do this more often. And I think that's actually such a beautiful thing, to focus more on the fact that you want to do something, that it's important to you, that it's something you enjoy, instead of all the pressure of like, you should do this, you should do that, don't do that. And there's like so much expectation. While if we let go of all the expectation, somehow there's this natural inclination to do the things we know feel good, right? So I think a big part of overcoming like procrastination and resistance is also just creating the space for yourself to to not do anything, to rest, to be with what is already there and kind of take little steps in order to learn that it is actually something we want to do.
Beautifully said. And I know that everybody listening to this podcast are really fascinated by how we work and how to better our lives by just understanding ourselves better and better, because we're not about fixing or shaming or figuring out the things that aren't right in ourselves. It's really about understanding and embracing and allowing. And I hope this episode really got that message across. And I also wanted to say that because we know that you all are so fascinated by your inner workings and you want to probably have the best relation possible with yourself, we wanted to create a whole episode where we dive deeper into how can we build a gorgeous relationship with the person that we are and the person that we will be with until the end of our lives.
Yes, I'm really excited to dive into that as well. I think it's such a big question because there is a lot of talk about loving yourself and respecting yourself and setting boundaries. And I think a lot of people who might be listening can relate to this conversation, but aren't always sure how to get there. Like we have maybe the mental concept of, yes, I should be loving myself, I should be more kind, but I'm not actually feeling it. I'm not experiencing it. How do I get there? And I think it's a beautiful conversation to have and also see how you're relating to yourself, how that has such a big impact on how you're relating to the world and how you perceive your entire life. So I can't wait for the next episode.
Me too. I'm so excited. And I wanted to say a big thanks for all of those that have been with us today. It means the world to have your feedback, any question or any curiosity you might have around the podcast. We are here.
Yes, and please share this podcast if you feel like it is helping you. If you know anybody who's struggling with perhaps a specific topic we're talking about, please like and really do all the things you know will help us really make an impact because I think we're having really meaningful and important conversations around well being, around having a more holistic approach towards really finding more meaning, peace within ourselves and within our lives.
Beautiful. See you very soon.